Hello, you. Let me ask you something. Why haven't you subscribed to ClassHorrorCast yet? Do you think I'm not gonna notice? Well, I see everything. And I see you wetting your pants right now. The question isn't, should you subscribe to ClassHorrorCast or not? The question is, did I just subscribe you? Now enjoy the show. I'll be watching.
Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. Welcome back to another episode of the ClassHorrorCast. I'm your host as always, Aran, and in this week's episode I'm joined by actress, director and scream queen Ali Chappell. Having a passion for performing on stage from a young age, Ali has made the pivot into acting and has had roles in The Final Ride, Necropolis, Legion and many more. Ali has also written and directed her first short, Verified, in 2021 and it is showcased at film festivals worldwide. We talk about her podcasts, her love for horror, modern day society and her goals and plans for 2022, starting with her first feature film, Malediction. Join me as I dive inside the mind of Ali Chappell. So can you remember your gateway into, I guess, horror movies or movies in general?
Oh, I was always like a movie kid. Like that was like my pastime as a child was movies and TV. And I obviously did like a lot of like sports and extracurricular, but all of my interest was in movies and performing. And God, I think I was like a small child doing like plays at church, and not that I'm like religious or anything, not that it's anything against being religious, it's just that was my family and that was a place to perform, like choirs and the nativity and whatnot. And then got into it more in school and after school programs, and once I got to high school, that was basically all I did. And I really lucked out that I went to a very artistic high school. So we had like musical theater programs, which were like a double periods. We just had like a whole afternoon of just like singing and dancing and acting. And it really helped feed just my love of performing and helped me, I don't know, like gain like a better appreciation for movies. And I grew up with like an older brother who really loved horror films. So he would always, you know, go to Blockbuster and we'd rent stuff during the summertime or during like our days off and like spend the entire day just watching all these movies as like a very small child.
Can you remember the first horror movie you saw or something that like scared the shit out of you?
I always get asked this question and I don't even remember the first movie I saw. Like I know that, oh my God, I don't know if you can hear these sirens, but they're so fucking loud.
Yeah, I can.
That's Toronto. Yeah, I get asked this a lot and it always blows my mind that people remember the first films they saw. And I was like a wee infant. Like I truly cannot remember. I feel like the first film that made an impression that I remember is the Nightmare on Elm Street series. And I saw that at a very young age. And I also saw like A Clockwork Orange when I was like 7, 8. And I feel like that left a very like interesting impression on me. But as the first film, I honestly like, I have racked my brain. I've asked my mom and it's like probably like a Disney film, but like I have no idea. Yeah,
it's funny the amount of times Nightmare on Elm Street comes up. And I always wonder, is that because of the subject matter of the movie? It dealt with dreams, and I mean, everybody has dreamt at some point. Is that why everyone remembers that? Because I always get that as an answer.
I feel like it. I also just feel like it was, I don't know, it was just an original concept that like I hadn't seen. Like I had seen slashers and stuff. It's just that one stuck with me because it was this burn victim who was murdering children in their sleep.
Yeah, true. That's always fascinated me. I can't name the amount of times that I've talked to people and Nightmare is always brought up.
Oh, I feel like it's like, yeah, like Nightmare is always brought up. I find that Friday the 13th and like Halloween are like constantly brought up as well. Like just like that whole trope, like that those 5 people, like them and Leatherface and Chucky are like the mainstream ones that everyone like knows and talks about.
Yeah. You had mentioned something about having an older brother and, you know, going to Blockbuster and stuff. So that was something that you done like as a kid into your teens, the video store memories?
Oh my God. Yeah. In Ontario anyways, we lost Blockbuster as I was going into college.
Okay. And
I would have been like maybe in like 18, 20. So it would have been around like 2008, 2009, I believe, when we kind of stopped having a Blockbuster, which was great for me because the one that was right by my house had like an insane blowout sale where everything was like $1. And I was like, yes. So I have so many like DVDs that still have like Blockbuster stickers on it. And I have a few that are just like a Blockbuster case.
Yeah.
So I love that. And then we also had the other popular one was like a Rogers Video. And that went until it's still around as a cell phone company now, which is like Rogers Internet and Rogers cell phones are like the big thing, but they used to also be a video store. And then they stopped being, and I miss having a video store. Like I miss going and seeing all the like different movie titles and posters and just basing my decision on what the poster is.
Yeah, that was something I was going to ask. Are you still a physical media person, or has that kind of gone by the wayside now?
Oh no, I am like a huge physical media person, and you can't see it because I'm in like the one room of my house, but like in my living room, there's like shelves of DVDs and Blu-rays and VHS tapes and action figures. Like I will always go back to physical media, especially because like I moved into this apartment earlier this year. So I didn't have internet for the first week. And then you realize how like
important
you don't have internet, you don't have streaming. So there's no Netflix, there's no Prime, there's nothing. So I was so happy that I have like 5 years worth of just physical media to watch in case the internet ever decides to stop being a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like I went back to it even more so during all these lockdowns and different things, even though I didn't not have internet, but I don't know. I just found myself trying to like disconnect from the world because the internet just became COVID, pandemic, fear.
And it's such a bummer.
Yeah. And it was just nice to like, you know, I would have days where I would just turn off the phone or just airplane mode and just like pick DVDs up, and it just felt like a different time.
I think my thing is that like movie theaters are like my safe place. Like I'll see one movie, then buy a ticket, see another one, then buy a ticket, see, and then just like spend a day in a movie theater because like at home, I'll be on my phone during a movie, even if I try so hard not to be. Like I'll put it in like a different room, but I'll still be like, I should check my emails just in case. But in a movie theater, I'm like, even if I'm the only one in this movie theater, it's rude. Yeah. So I'm like, I'll just be in movies and I'll be fully engrossed in the whole atmosphere of it.
Yeah, I definitely, I don't know how I had avoided not seeing Malignant for so long. I think it was just
so good.
Yeah, I think it was just because of everything that was going on, and then our movie theaters were closed and it came to streaming, and I never picked it up. And then I got it on Blu-ray recently, and I said to myself, I was like, I'm going to dedicate like a night where I'm just going to watch this. I'm going to treat it like the whole experience again. And like, even though I loved the movie from start to finish, I'd be lying if I said that I didn't pick up my phone several times. And I tried so hard. It was like, but the more I tried to avoid it, the more I was like, I'll just check it for just like 5 seconds.
I'll just check it really quick. Like just see if I have any like notifications.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like that's why I like hate that movie theaters are closed down right now, because I'm like, that's like the one place where I feel super rude, even like glancing at my phone.
Yeah, it's strange. And I don't know what's
happening here. Oh my God. Am I like bursting out into hives in the middle of this podcast? Oh my God. Okay. I'm going to like zip up this coat fully so that the audience can't see this. I'm totally fine. We're good. We're good.
I didn't even notice that until you said it.
This is just my life right now.
It's one of those things, as good as I think the internet can be in a lot of ways, and social media can be, you know, for work and connecting with people and networking and stuff. It's gotten very bizarre as well. Like I find, as much as I love movies and things like that, for some reason I just can't put away the phone at home. And even like I hadn't even finished watching Malignant and I'm already like tempted to Google things about the movie and like find things out. And I'm like, why do I feel the need to do that? Why can't I wait? It's like, what, 2 hours long?
Yeah, it's like barely 2 hours long. And I just feel like I'm the same way. Like I can't not be on my phone. Like even now, like my phone's next to me. I keep being like, someone emailed me, who emailed me? What's that about? Who messaged me? And it's stupid. It's such a stupid addiction.
Yeah, it's
like, there are way cooler addictions we could have.
Yeah, I know, right? And I had this conversation only recently about, and this is completely off of topic about anything I was going to talk about, but just this whole metaverse, Facebook, NFT thing that's like kind of going on. And it's such a bizarre thing. I had seen an article, and again, I don't have an opinion necessarily on this, but I had seen, I think, some lady somewhere was, I don't know if she tried to take it to court or press charges or something for being like sexually assaulted, like in some kind of like metaverse digital thing. And it's just like, yeah, things are just getting like so out of hand with social media. There's just too much. It's so toxic. It's like,
it's so toxic. And also like, I keep hearing about NFTs and I'm like, so they're just graphics that you're buying and then making money?
Yeah, I don't. Like, I still don't understand.
I truly do not get that at all. But people keep talking about it. I'm like, is this something that I need to know about? Like,
I feel like it is because so many people talk about it. But my question was always, but could I not just screenshot that exact same image and then I also?
And then you also have it. Like, how do you own an internet graphic and then somehow make money off of it?
Like, I don't understand how I could sell you, if I own an NFT, I can sell it to you for like thousands of dollars, but also you could have just screenshot it and you already have it. It doesn't make sense to me.
None of that makes any sense to me. So I just like don't deal with it. I'm like, you know what? That's not my world.
Yeah,
it's totally
me too. Have you ever seen Black Mirror?
Oh yeah. I love Black Mirror.
Yeah, and I feel like how the world is going now, like I look back at episodes of that and I'm like, you know what? Some of this doesn't seem too far out of reality for like how they seem to be pushing things. I'm still
waiting for the whole like reviewing people in real time and then their popularity goes up and down. Like I'm still waiting for that to start happening.
And I guess to a degree we probably kind of already have that in a way. But it's scary how close we're getting to that kind of thing. And I'm not sure if that's the same episode where, is it the mom puts a filter on her kids' thing so she can't see danger and stuff. So she can't see like a barking dog. She can't see this. She can't see that.
Oh, no, I think that's a different note. So I think the
and
one
it's
with
just like
the
all those
is the girl goes to the wedding. And it's like she can only go because she's like above a certain percent.
Yeah. And you know what? Right now, with everything that's gone on the last couple of years and just how crazy everything seems to be, it doesn't seem that far-fetched, really.
No, it doesn't. It feels like we're already kind of living in that world.
Yeah.
Well, also, like, between us, well, I mean, not between us, we're recording this, so it's obviously going to be public, but, like, I've gotten, like audition sites that literally include, like, what's your follower count on Instagram? And it's like, why does that matter?
Really?
Oh, yeah. So it's like definitely a thing that's becoming a lot more popular because everyone wants, because it's free promotion for people. Like if you have, 100,000 followers, like there's a good chance that if you're a part of something, you're going to post about it. And then those people are going to like want to be a part of that product or that like service.
Yeah, true. Do you find, being female in the movie industry, and I guess to a degree you have to have a social media or an online presence. Do you, I hear so many people talk about that, people reach out and they try and push on females and attractive females and things like that. Do you find like that's still, not saying it's not a thing, but is it still as prevalent now that so many of these stories have been brought to the forefront, with the Weinsteins and all these different things? Has it started to change, or do we still have that weird culture?
I think for me personally, because I try to only work with like really cool, chill people, that hasn't really been a thing. But I do still think there is a certain degree of sexism within film where like for a while, like after the whole not after the Me Too movement is obviously still happening, but there was a lot of things where they're like, well, cool, we just won't hire women. Because if they're going to, you know, accuse us of stuff, then we just will stop hiring them. And it's like, that's going the opposite way.
Yeah, it's like doubling down on what was wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, I do know some people who have had some like, you know, issues on set or with certain people. And it's still a thing. And I feel like I'm lucky in a sense that that hasn't happened to me. Like, knock on wood, that it's going to keep going that way.
Yeah, because it's one of those things where, and I don't even mean, I guess, in a sexual way or anything like that, but I definitely, I often wonder, like when you mentioned about follower count and things like that, how different places do business, I guess. And that was something just on the topic of talking about reviewing people and social media. I feel like, not that it's pivoted from any sort of sexism thing, but there's definitely a degree of, you know, what value have you got to me online? And that may or may not determine whether you'll be offered something or, you know, you get a role.
Yeah, which honestly, like, I'm always about end of the day, talent should come first. And if you have a great follower count, that's an awesome bonus, but it's like work should not rely on what your social media is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like, truly, if I didn't need social media, because I do get a lot of work through it, like, I definitely wouldn't have it.
Yeah. And that's the unfortunate part, because it's like trying to balance those two things where it's like it can be quite helpful. And I guess it is the modern way of networking.
It is, especially during the pandemic when you like can't, you know, go to film festivals and go to like conventions and see people and network in person. You kind of have to rely on having like a social media just to talk with directors and producers and other actors. And like,
yeah, it's true.
It sucks. And I hate doing it because I am not great with online stuff. Like, I am the worst in group chats. I don't ever respond, and I'm bad for getting back to people at times. So I'm like, oh, I need that in-person networking.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel that. When was, I guess, acting, directing, writing, or which one of those do you feel like originally, you know, at what point were you sitting there and you were like, you know, this is really something I want to make my life? Was there a point in time, or was it something that was always kind of inside you?
Oh, I've always wanted to be an actor. Like, from like a very, very young age, I loved like performing for my family and friends. And anytime I got a chance to like be on stage or do something fun like that, like I always jumped at it. And it wasn't until like recently that I decided like I should maybe try my hand at like writing and directing. And like, I had written for like a couple of websites and magazines prior, just doing like reviews and interviews, just because, you know, it's like something to do. Was a good excuse to network and a good excuse to like reach out to people who I really admire, to be like, hey, can I like interview you for this magazine? But also like, hi, we're friends now. But yeah, it was always acting. And then in the last year, I wrote like my first short script and was like, you know what? I want to try my hand at directing this and see if I'm like any good. So that I made that short film Verified, and it's still playing film festivals and it's doing super well. So I was like, oh, okay, maybe directing is something that like I could do. Writing, maybe not. I feel like I need a lot of help with writing because I'm not great with dialogue, but because it was just like one person talking, I was like, this is fine. They're not really communicating with other people. That's where I feel like is not my forte. Do
you think that directing over time may be something that will take over acting, or would you like to maybe direct and star in the same projects?
I would. So, okay. So back in October, I decided to like really jump the gun and make a feature film that I wrote and directed and starred in. And it's very like micro budget, and it was made with like a very like bare bones cast and crew. And it was like a quick, like we filmed in like 5 days, which I think is now a lesson I've learned where maybe we need a bit more time. And it was definitely a learning experience where I would like to do it again, but I think I would need a bit more money to pay more people to help me on it. Because I was doing everything. And like, apart from like holding the camera and like the boom mic, I was like doing like costumings and scouting locations and doing all the producing and the directing and the writing and like making sure everything was good. And I felt that if I only had to direct and act, I probably would have had a better performance. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely something that I want to try again, because I think that's something that I could really get into. And plus, if you're not booking the jobs that you want, you really should just be creating your own jobs.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think...
So it's definitely something that I want to pursue more.
Do you think that having that experience, you know, even if it's only once, doing all those things, I guess that will probably stand to you in a way? Like you'll benefit from working in all these different wheelhouses?
Yeah. And like, I like individually all those jobs. They're all so much fun. It's just, I feel like I can't do all of them at once.
Yeah.
Like that was very overwhelming to the point where like I wasn't sleeping because I was so concerned about everything that was happening on set. Mm-hmm. And I would like to not have that anxiety inside my body while also trying to act and control the room. Mm-hmm. But I feel like as I grow with it, I'll get better at that kind of thing and multitasking in a way.
Yeah, because that was something you said a couple of minutes ago about, you know, you always enjoyed performing for your family, friends, any opportunity you had to kind of get involved in something. You didn't really have any issues. And nerves, I guess, and anxiety was something I was going to ask about. And I guess it's a twofold question. Career-wise and work-wise, do you suffer with nerves and anxiety, or how do you cope with that or deal with that?
When it comes to acting, like on set acting, no. The career of acting where I'm always anxiety ridden about like, am I going to book a job? Am I going to book this? That's always there. But I feel like anyone who's working in the industry kind of has that anxiety. But like when I'm performing, there's like nothing. It's like second nature. Mm-hmm. But yes, I'm riddled with anxiety most days. And especially now that we're in year 3 of the pandemic, that anxiety is just like constantly bubbling up. Like, what's tomorrow going to bring? Are we going to go back on lockdown? Can I pay rent? Can we do this? If I book this job, am I actually going to have this job? Or is COVID going to fuck that up too? Oh, sorry. Am I allowed to swear on this?
Yeah. It's all good. And how do you, without getting super personal, whatever, how do you find, mixing the kind of profession you're in where, like you said, it can be quite, I guess, anxiety inducing because you kind of have to make your own, it's not like you get a job at Walmart and it's nothing against that, but it is very up and down, and a lot of it comes down to what you put into it. I mean, if you sit around on the couch all day and don't actually put in any effort, then you won't book jobs and you won't network and you won't do this and you won't do that. How do you, I guess, cope with that and push forward with that? So many people ask, me to ask guests and different people when they hear they're coming on the show, little tips, tricks, how to overcome, I guess, stuff that a lot of people deal with, but just many people don't talk about.
So the way that I deal with stress is I kind of have to compartmentalize. Did I say that right? Mm-hmm. I'm like really bad with words today. Oh my God. But at the end of the day, like I know that like with acting, like acting is like my blood. It's like the air that I breathe. So any chance I get to do it, or any opportunity, even small opportunities like auditioning, because auditioning is just another chance to perform. Mm-hmm. And so I always just kind of like look at that as I can't be stressed because I get to act. Even if only one person is going to see it, then that's kind of all that matters to me. And the rest of the stress in my life, like money and personal shit, I just cry a lot at night.
You know what? That, yeah, as I don't want to say as funny as that sounds, but there's a lot to be said for actually, just letting it happen. Because so many people try and bury shit as well. And I think to tie it back into what we talked about earlier about social media, and I'm a huge offender for this, where I look at somebody else and I go, oh, look, they have this, and they've got 100 more followers than I've got, or look who commented on their thing.
Bad for that. I'm always looking at people being like, oh, like I auditioned for that role too. Why did they get it over me? And I'm like, I have to. You can't think that way in the industry.
Yeah, because it's always going to be there, I guess, because there's always going to be something.
Yeah, like there's always going to be someone who's going to get something over you, or someone who's going to have more followers, or someone who's just going to have a better engagement. And it's like, it's good for them. I have to learn to not be like jealous of shit like that, because like I'm doing pretty well for myself. Yeah. So I need to focus back on the fact that like I'm not failing at what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And their success does not mean that I'm a failure.
Yeah, and that's something I think we've all probably to a degree, without realizing, subconsciously become obsessed with. And I don't even think, most people don't do it in an evil way. It just becomes shit, I wish I could have got that. It's human nature. Yeah, yeah.
Like you always kind of want something that somebody else has, and wondering like why they got something over you. And
yeah. Okay, so rewind back to the start of this whole lockdown terrible situation, right? And, again, we find out, okay, you're going to be in lockdown for the next 12 months, 6 months, whatever. You've no internet, and you can only pick 5 movies that you can watch for that entire time period. What would you choose? I feel like that's a really on-the-spot question as well.
It's 5 movies out of all of them. Okay.
And this doesn't necessarily have to be like your top 5 favorite movies ever or anything.
No, but I would try to think like if I only had 5 movies, like they'd have to be really rewatchable ones. Because part of me is like, oh, I have like all like my top 5 movies, and I'm like, but I wouldn't want to watch those every day.
Yeah.
But Dracula Dead and Loving It, I could easily, it's not even in my top 10, but I could easily watch that movie every single day. I have another podcast where I'm always bringing it up. Mm-hmm. In the same vein, I get made fun of this a lot. Bowfinger, I could watch that movie every single day. It's like the guidebook on how to guerrilla film make. And Steve Martin is just, he's so funny. He has such like a soft spot in my heart. I could watch The Craft every day, like the original, not the new one. Mm-hmm. Nothing against the new one, but like The Craft, the original one was so much better. Would it have to be a movie, or could I like just rewatch TV shows?
Yeah.
Okay, because I could like literally watch like The Office or Parks and Rec every single day.
Yeah, I feel like I that's something when I was thinking of that question, I was like, yeah, if I could just pick TV shows, I feel like I could get way more mileage out of it as well. Yeah.
Because I have maybe 5 TV shows that are always being cycled through as background noise in my house so that I can work and have something going on, but I don't really need to pay attention to it.
Yeah.
But like you just tune in and out and you're like, oh yeah, Ron Swanson, hilarious, love him.
Is that something, do you have any comfort horror movies? Things that maybe are considered like terrible by most people or the general audience that you just kind of find yourself putting on in the background all the time?
Yeah. One of my comfort horror movies is Bride of Chucky.
I fucking love that movie so much.
I fucking love that movie, and it's so good and it's so comforting. And on the same vein, Elvira. Mm-hmm. Like there's a spot right here because I have a poster coming in from Shout Factory that has its spot reserved. So whenever that comes in, there's already a spot in the wall for it. Not really a horror movie, but like Practical Magic, I could watch like all day, every day, and just have it on a loop. Mm-hmm. but like it has witches, so like it falls into like the Halloween category.
Yeah,
so I always like to bring it up. And okay, I love not all of them, I shouldn't say all, but like Urban Legend, I Know What You Did Last Summer, like all the 90s teen shit, I could watch that every day.
Those are like my favorite. I only recently, there's a company in the UK called 88 Films.
Oh, I love 88 Films.
Yeah, and they
shout out to 88.
They had re-released some slasher stuff. And I have so many copies of Urban Legend. I Know What You Did Last Summer. And it's everyone always gives me shit for this. I love I Still Know What You Did Last Summer.
I love it.
Even
I own,
though it's
like the book versions of those movies. I have them all on like VHS tapes. Like everyone can suck it. Those movies are great.
They are, and it's something I have so many different tattoos from like movies that I love, and I've been trying to find like the perfect thing for I Know What You Did Last Summer, Urban Legend, and I just can't find something that I don't want to just get like the poster.
Yeah, you don't want to just get like the guy with like the cloak and the hook.
Yeah, I just feel like that doesn't work. But yeah,
an Urban Legend, like what would you get from those movies? Like just a tattoo of like Jared Leto?
Yeah, like that's the thing I was looking at. I was like, is there anything I can like pick?
Just get like a can of Coke with like a bag of Pop Rocks jammed on top of it. Like
that's actually not a bad one. Yeah, I find that those are my like comfort kind of movies as well, and I don't know what that is because I love slasher movies, I love things like that, and I love the 90s vibe, but I don't know why I always find that those types of movies are the ones that I kind of go back to all the time. Like I rewatched The Hitcher recently, the remake.
Oh, The Hitcher. Yes.
And like, I mean, it's not an amazing movie or anything like that. It's not like but I don't know, it's just something fun about it. I just enjoy it. I don't know why.
No, I feel you. Like maybe it's because like I was like a small child in the 90s, but like that was the shit that I grew up with. Mm-hmm. So I always have like a soft spot in my heart for just 90s teen slasher movies, like early 2000s stuff. Yeah. Like Valentine is another one that I'm often going back to.
I'm actually waiting for a custom of the cherub mask.
Oh my God, yes. There's a monthly event that when COVID isn't fucking happening, happens at a rep cinema in Toronto, and it's called Drunken Cinema, where everyone gets these like playing cards and there are like drinking rules, but they always do like a fun horror movie. So they'll do like the later Jason movies, or they'll do Valentine. And like when they did Valentine one, I love that movie so much, but they had someone dress up as the cherub. And he would just like walk down the aisles. And if he stopped at your aisle and you like didn't notice him, you had to drink. And it was, it's the best.
I feel like as well, a lot of times those movies don't get enough credit. They have such a huge fan base. I've actually been on and off talking to Jamie Blanks about coming on the podcast at some point, and it's just been so hard to figure out because he's in Australia and the time difference and everything. But just to talk to him, and to talk to him, like it's crazy how popular some of the movies that he were involved in. I mean, like he done an early concept trailer for I Know What You Did Last Summer, which I would have killed somebody to see him get a chance to do that as well. But yeah, like Valentine, Urban Legend, I'm actually surprised. It probably wouldn't work out very well, but I'm very surprised that nobody's tried to capitalize on those IPs again or try to like bring them back. I Know What You Did Last Summer came back, and I seen yesterday it's been cancelled now after one season.
Yeah, because it sucked. It didn't have the same like 90s teen slasher that the originals had, and it was too modern. You kind of didn't like any of the characters. Like there was no empathy for anybody. So you're like, I don't care if any of these people live or die. Everyone's kind of shitty.
Yeah, everyone in the show was like an asshole.
Everyone in the show sucked. Yeah. And I was like, I got a handful of episodes in and I was like, I can't do this.
Yeah, I stuck it out till the end, but I was like,
Now I will say the Chucky TV show that one knew what it was doing. Like Don Mancini knew what he was doing when he got that cast and crew together. And he brought back Jennifer Tilly, and I'll watch Jennifer Tilly in anything.
I really, really enjoyed that, to be honest. And I love that Chucky still kind of has, because at a point there, things seemed a little bit ropey, like around, you know, some of those Curse of Chucky, Cult of Chucky. I didn't necessarily hate them, but I was like, uh-oh, are we about to see Chucky just disappear?
That's what I was thinking too, because like I didn't mind, like I loved Bride of Chucky, obviously, and all the ones prior, and then like Seed of Chucky got weird, and I was like, okay, I can get weird with this. And then like Cult and Curse kind of felt like it kind of backslid a bit.
Yeah.
But then they brought it right back up with the TV show. Like I was hooked from like the first episode.
What did you think of Child's Play? That other... I still don't understand what that is, to be totally honest with you. I'm like...
Oh, the one with
it's like
Aubrey Plaza?
Yeah, it's like the Buddy doll or whatever.
Yeah, I wasn't too sure where they were going with that. I'm like, are they rebooting the franchise with a new killer doll, but they're trying to capitalize on it being sort of a Chucky? Like, it didn't feel like a full thought.
No, I didn't hate it as much as I thought I would. But yeah, it's still bizarre. Now when I think about it, I'm like, so we have Chucky is continuing his story, and then we have this like separate Chucky
this whole separate
thing.
One.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan of it, but like, I'm pretty sure I still watched it like 3 times.
Yeah, me too. And look, I see what they were doing. They were trying to, like, I guess, make a modern day with the drones and stuff and like all the technology. I get it, but I just feel like that's not the heart of why people like Chucky.
No, and like, yeah, it lost something for me. But I do like love and worship Aubrey Plaza, so I'll watch her and whatever she does. She wrote a child's book recently, which I was like, all right, well, I'm going to buy this kid's book because it's her and I support her.
I've done that a few times with people. They'll release like some like way left field shit, and I'm like, yeah, let me do it.
Yeah, I'll support that. Sure, why not?
Are you a Scream fan?
Yes, and it's killing me that theaters shut down and that Scream 5 is only playing in theaters. So we don't get to see it until like hopefully end of the month.
What's your prediction for a movie? Who do you think the killer or killers may be? Is it going to be someone from the originals, or?
I don't think it's going to be someone. I keep hearing a lot of theories that like it might be like Skeet Ulrich's character or Matthew Lillard's character, but like I don't want it to be that. But at the same time, I also don't want it to be one of these new teens that they have, because they kind of already did that in 4. So I'm like, then who? Yeah, that if they bring back that lady cop from the 4th one who's like in love with Dewey, I could see her being it. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I don't know too much about the new one. Like they've been pretty good at not spoiling a lot of it.
Yeah. And the reviews have been quite good.
In a couple of days when it comes to theaters, and then everyone's posting about it, who the killer is.
Yeah, and everyone spoils it.
Yeah, because horror Twitter has zero chill, and they will ruin it for everybody.
Pretty much. And I seen there was uproar actually today or yesterday, I think. There's a Twitter account. I can't remember the name of it. I don't even want to promote it anyway, but they posted about one of the actresses in the movie. I can't remember who it is. She may have had nude scenes in something else, and they posted all the screenshots, and obviously Twitter has a really hard time with filtering anything that's disgusting. And everybody's just been going crazy over this now. They're trying to get the account shut down, but he seems to be just blasting this away.
Yeah, Twitter is like, it's weird on who they ban and block, because they also like have no problem allowing nudity, but then where's the line? Yeah.
It's like the Wild West.
Yeah. It's not like Instagram where if you like post even like a hint of a nipple, you're fucking off. Mm-hmm. Twitter is just a free for all of nonsense. Like you have to be a really big garbage human to get yourself banned on Twitter.
Kind of, yeah. When you think about it, when I think about some of the stuff that I've like scrolled and been like, whoa, what the hell is that?
Oh my God. Yeah. Like the amount of like racist shit, the amount of like, I posted because there's a thing that happens here every year where it's an air show, and I live so close to it that like when the planes, like the jets go over, my whole building shakes, and like every animal and baby in the building is just screaming. And like I hate it. It's outdated and stupid, but whatever. Anyways, I posted about hating it. The amount of people, like the amount of dudes who personally were like, I hope you get raped. Like, I hope like you fucking die. It's women like you that make me abuse women. I'm like, how are you still on Twitter? How have you not been banned?
Just even hearing you say that, and just how casual we're having that conversation, and you're able to say that, it kind of shows you how like fucked up online is, where like now it's like, oh yeah, no, I can see that. Like for somebody to say like, I hope you get raped. Just think about that for a second. How bizarre! That, like the amount of like women I know who on like Twitter or Instagram will get shit like that constantly, and it's like, how are these people being enabled to like say that kind of shit? How comfortable are you to be like, I hope you get sexually assaulted? Like, fuck you. Yeah, it's. I have a friend here, Gordo, who he hosts a really popular podcast actually called Those Conspiracy Guys. And they done like a 2-3 hour podcast recently about the Matrix movies, and then just like the idea of glitches in the Matrix in general. And they brought up the whole metaverse thing and things like that. And they were just talking about like, you know, the more people become obsessed with social media, the internet, and the shit that people say and try and, you know, like with the whole Trump thing and like inciting violence and riots and different things like that. Like at what point do we start to judge like what's actually... Where does something like telling somebody, I hope you get raped and die and all this crazy shit, like when does that actually become criminal, and what should be done with somebody like that that's constantly... Yeah, like there are, like what are the laws on the internet? Like you can just create a fake account and just harass people night and day and then have nothing happen. Like only recently in Ireland at least... you know, there was some very minor laws passed that would protect people from this whole idea of like, I guess, revenge porn, and, you know, people having sent pictures to each other and then they break up, and now all of a sudden only in 2021 only in 2021 did we adopt even minor laws that can potentially apprehend someone for spreading someone's nudes or whatever all over the internet. I think we've had that law for some time now. And yeah, like what the fuck is wrong with you? Why is that something that you'd even want to do? Like you're just a garbage human for doing that kind of shit. And like I have sex worker friends who have had that shit happen to them. And it's like, even just trying to get it off the internet is so hard. Because once it's out there, it's fucking out there. It's done. Yeah. And like you can sue that person all you want, but at the end of the day, your shit's still fucked because your private stuff was leaked. Yeah, it still doesn't, you know, number one, it's just, it's bizarre that we have to have those laws in the first place, or we have to even have that conversation. And it's like you said, there's very little that can really be done. And obviously depending on the severity of it, I mean, even if you were to get $1 million, depending on what it has been put out there, you can potentially still be just fucked for life regardless. Yeah. And like your shit can be fucked up, and like it's so sad. And like I'm like, knock on wood, thank God that hasn't happened to me. Granted, I don't send those out to everybody. I was waiting for the pause there. I was like, just pause and just pause and did I? No, but that's also why I'm very much like, I don't do nudity in movies, like especially because indie world doesn't pay a lot. Like if Spielberg was like, here's a couple mil, but you have to be topless, I'd be like, yeah, all right, let's do it. Because the second you do it, it's on the internet forever. Yeah. I'm very like, I'm not going to get nude for any of these indie horror films that I do, because it's not worth my junk being all over the internet on porn sites. Is that something that, I don't want to say you've dealt with a lot, but is it something that's been put in front of you, I guess, often? Because I feel like as well, and I don't want to down indie horror or low budget horror or anything like that, but I do feel like that sometimes, and maybe I'm wrong, this is just my personal opinion, I do feel like that sometimes though these companies or these films are able to make a really good, I guess, name for themselves or huge popularity or promotion from, you know, finding a really good actress who, you know, is good looking, who is popular online, and then try and be like, hey, you know, she gets nude, or there's like nude scenes, and then this becomes like a thing.
Yeah, like I obviously, for all the actors out there who do get nude and it's consensual and it's totally fine, like props to them. Nothing against anything they do. Everyone is their own thing. But like for me, every time a role is brought up and there's like, hey, there's nudity in this, I'm like, oh, then that's not for me. Yeah. Like getting a couple $100 to get nude is not worth it for me and my boundaries. And I have definitely had conversations where someone's like, hey, I really want you for this project, but there's nudity. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't do nudity. And they're like, okay, but we want you as this role. I'm like, cool, then take out the nudity. And they're like, well, we can't do that. I'm like, well, then you can't have me. Like, that's a boundary that I've set. And again, it's totally fine if other people want to do it. I know tons of people who are like totally fine with it. But for me personally, like, that's something that if you want me to be nude in your things, I have to be getting like a high 6 figures. Yeah. Or even a high 5 figures.
Yeah.
Like, like I would have to have my rent covered for at least a year or two for me to justify doing it. Yeah. Which I might get backlash for, but like, that's a boundary that I've set. If I'm going to show like any of my front in something, I will show my butt and stuff because like, I do that for fun anyway, so I think butts are funny. But like if I'm getting, but also like you go to the beach and you're like showing your butt anyways. Yeah. So like, but when it comes to like showing like any of my front stuff, the second that's on the internet, it's on the internet forever. So I want to be compensated fairly for what is going to happen.
Yeah, because, and especially, and I don't think, and you see, this is the thing as well, the fact that you have to preface that with, you know, I might get backlash on this. That shouldn't even be a thing. I mean, number one, I think how you navigate the space, and so many times I think people, I don't want to say get manipulated, but, you know, different people are really good at getting someone to bend to what they need or what they want. And I think having that clear cut, nope, this is where I stand and this is what I need. And I don't think that's too outlandish, really, because, and I've seen it time and time again, actresses and even actors, I don't want to say become typecast, but there's definitely a degree of, you know, you've done this thing and now it's like, hey, want to like do something like that again? Want to be that chick again? Or want to be that person again?
Because that door is now open for that. And it's like, well, you did it in this. Why don't you just do it again for this? And it's like,
yeah, and it's like you said, if
it's truly not me. Like
for a couple of $100, no, I don't think that makes sense.
Yeah, like I'm still rocking the indie world, and I love it, and I'll rock it forever if I need to. But like, I shouldn't say need to. I like doing it. I love being in like fun indie horror films and having these really great experiences on set. But I'm not going to get nude for it.
I noted it online. You done? I don't even know if. Could you even call it a nude scene or whatever? But everyone had went wild with the...
Oh my God, with the...
I don't even know what you call that.
Boobies.
Yeah, like I don't even... Is there a term? Do they have an actual term?
No, they've been called like mouth boobies. I call them mouth boobies or can of boobies.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
Yeah, no, I definitely like... do not consider that nudity at all because it's just so funny. And recently I got to be a guest at a convention in Ontario where for the whole weekend I wore the harness and the full outfit and everything. And like people would like stick their fingers in the mouth and like, it was so fun.
I have to say, and that was something I was I can't remember where I had seen it, but I'm not sure if it was on Reddit or somewhere, but like, there was so many people talking about that costume and that character and that whole thing and just how kind of crazy and bizarre it was. And like I said, it's not really nudity, but like so many people kind of enjoyed that because it was so ridiculous. And then I had seen so many
so
people
fun,
shared.
so funny to have on set.
So many people shared pictures with you at that convention. I think you're talking about with I think that was a really cool idea to wear the full.
Like that's what I had worked out with the guy who booked me. I was like, the whole thing was I'd be in costume like all weekend and people could take photos with me. It was not a problem. And like, if they paid like a little bit extra, they could like stick their hands or fingers in there. And truly, if it wasn't COVID times, I would have like totally let people like put their mouths on it. Or like, there's also, because there's a scene in the movie where like milk and blood pour out of them. So there is a way to stick tubing into it. And I was like, oh, if it wasn't COVID, how fun would that be at an after party to just like funnel tequila through it?
Could you imagine?
It would have gone viral for sure. And it would have been so funny and so worth it.
It would have. Because it just seems like it's so out there. How was that actually? Filming that and I guess when you read the script or whatever, when you read the character and that's in it, is it something that kind of makes you go, whoa, or you're just like, yeah, I'm going to lean into this. This is going to be fun.
Oh, I leaned into it. I was like, this is hilarious. I also I love Full Moon.
Yeah.
I think they're just a fun company and they've been doing a lot of really great stuff, especially in the like last bunch of years now that they branched off into having their own streaming platform. And my partner, Chris Alexander, who was the director of that movie, was like, you need to play this role. And I was like, heck yeah, I do. Yeah. And it was probably one of the best experiences on set because it was like super comfortable. We were all like, everyone was just friends and we're all palling around while making a movie. And it was during the time when the Deadly 10 through Full Moon was happening, where they were going to live stream making all of the movies. And I thought that was in itself a really cool like gimmick to be a part of, because no one was live streaming all the behind the scenes as they're happening.
Yeah. And I feel like Full Moon, Trauma, there's a couple of companies out there and they've really made a mark and continue, I guess, to make a mark, have a huge cult following. And there's a lot of movies there, I think, over the years that they've done, with that being one of them that I think that will, at least within the horror community, will always kind of be around. Yeah.
No, I completely agree. And they're like those companies that are always pumping out stuff and everything might not be a winner, but when they hit hard.
Yeah, they do. If you could play any role in an existing horror IP, what would you want to do and why?
Ooh. Like stuff that's already been made or stuff that's currently being made?
Whichever.
Okay. I want to be in Mike Flanagan's universe so bad. I just think that dude is like batting a fucking thousand. Like from making all the Stephen King stuff like Dr. Sleep and then doing like The Haunting of Hill House and The Haunting of Bly Manor and most recently like Midnight Mass, which I am like truly obsessed with.
So good.
Like if I could get on his radar and get into his stuff, that would be making it for me. I would be like, nope, I've made it. I'm good.
Yeah. In any capacity?
In any capacity, even if it was like a one-liner role as like a waitress in a coffee shop, I'd be like, fuck it, I was in Mike Flanagan stuff. He knows I exist.
Yeah. And as regards, I guess, legacy horror, or whatever you want to call it, is there a particular movie that you would like to star in? You know, whether it be a Chucky or maybe take up like a Jennifer Tilly role or something like that?
Oh my God, if I had a Jennifer Tilly role, like if I could just be Tiffany, I would be so excited. But truly, like I would honestly, like this is so stupid, but Jennifer Morrison's character in Urban Legend 2, that would be it for me. Like a weird UCLA film student who's making a movie about urban legends and everyone's dying. I'm like, yes, give me this.
Yeah, I love that. And that's just, I like that answer actually, because it's, you can tell it's like unique to you. It's not the generic, oh yeah, I'd be like a female Freddy, or, you know, like I think people just pick the most popular.
Everyone wants to be the female Freddy or the female Jason or the female Pinhead. And it's like, those have been done.
How do you feel about that actually?
Now we're getting like a new female Pinhead and I'm like excited for it. And that would be a cool project to be a part of.
Yeah, on the topic of that, I guess, doing a female Pinhead, a lot of people, and I'll admit, even I at first I was like, ooh, and not because it's a female or anything, or not because I have anything against that. I was just like, I just feel like Doug Bradley as Pinhead felt so iconic. It's like Robert Englund as Freddy. But the more I think about it,
what's Jackie Earle Haley, and you're like, who is this guy? What are you doing?
Yeah, but the more I think about it, actually, Clive Barker's work and that whole universe he's built is quite odd and bizarre and kind of I don't know, I guess sexual and weird and everything. And part of me feels like that maybe having a female lead in that actually might work really well. And I think it'll be an interesting
I think it's going to be great.
Yeah. Do you think that we could recast roles like Freddy and different things like that?
I feel like you can, but like, should we?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I feel like the reason why Freddy works is because Robert Englund, basically created that character, obviously with Wes Craven and everything. But like having somebody else play Freddy, it doesn't feel right because it is Robert Englund. And like when it comes to things like if you're going to do like a female version of like Friday the 13th or Halloween, it's like it works because of those characters. Like if you were to make like a female Jason, I wouldn't be intimidated by that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Because his character is kind of built off being like 7 foot tall, and it's the whole.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And it's just not everything needs to be gender swapped.
Yeah.
And like I'm sorry if I offend people by saying that, but truly not everything needs to be gender swapped. If you want to experiment with it, that's totally fine. Just.
Yeah, and I'd actually seen some backlash online about the newest Matrix movie and the whole. I don't know if you've seen it.
No, so don't spoil it.
But yeah, there's some stuff there, and it kind of, I guess, alludes somewhat to what you're talking about. This idea of maybe sometimes now studios make movies to seem woke, and yeah. And
I find that if you're really trying to be woke, it sometimes doesn't hit, and it just looks pretentious. And I'm not against things being woke. Like obviously there are stuff that we really should be addressing, but there's a way to do it, and there's a way to do it naturally versus doing it very like forced.
Yeah.
Where like I kind of felt the new Black Christmas movie was very like forced woke, and they could have done something really interesting and cool with it, but also they shouldn't have called it Black Christmas.
Yeah, and that's one of those things where at least me personally, I feel like that if you're going to do something like that and touch on one of these subject matters or whatever, if you're doing it for that reason, it doesn't feel natural, it doesn't feel right, it's actually nearly more insulting to whatever the subject matter is, because it's like, it just feels like some commercial, like you're trying to cash in on the fact that it's talking about this thing, or we're alluding to this thing.
Yeah, you're talking about what the hot topic is right now. And it's like, there's a way to do it that's, natural and like understanding of the cause. Whereas I think I'm just more mad about the fact that they called it Black Christmas, but I'm like, no, Black Christmas is a very specific movie.
Yeah. Yeah. If
they call it anything else, and I probably would have liked it a bit more, but like I was waiting for, the sorority and Billy living in the attic and people dying that way.
Yeah, it's a pity when you see, and it's the same as I know lots of people online want to see a new Friday the 13th movie, a new Nightmare movie, and as much as I do, because I love to see those things kept alive and whatever, it's like you said, should we? There is a degree of like, do we really need to?
Yeah, and like everyone complains that like I always complain that things are always getting remade. Like there's a million Texas Chainsaws now. We're getting a new Exorcist. We have like a bunch of, the Conjurings and the Annabelle movies. And it's like, there are so many scripts out there that are so good that aren't being made. Why do we keep going back to stuff that we've already seen?
On the topic actually of podcasting, is that something that you would like to, I don't want to say as like a profession or whatever, but is it something that you see yourself continuing to do? I know like podcasts have gotten so popular and there's so many different subject matter. Yeah, and there's so many different subject matters, and I feel like, again, it probably suffers the same fate, like you said about, you know, being a working actor and different things like that. There's so many really good, talented people out there who have podcasts and who have different things that just have gotten lost maybe in the ether of everybody having a podcast. And I guess how do they find their audience? How do they get brought to the forefront? Is that something, have you been enjoying the podcast, and is it something you see yourself doing long term?
Yeah, I like podcasting. I think it's fun. It's like not like lucrative. Like I'm not making money on it. It's just like a fun thing to do. And I'm a part of 2 different podcasts. So one is the Hammer Horror. Mm-hmm. It's called Hammer Pub. It's through Screamatics. And it's great. We're like, once a week we get together and we watch a new Hammer film. I should say new, just the next Hammer film in line, and like watch it on the podcast while we talk about it. And it's like, it's a lot of fun. I love those guys. And then the other one I do is called Let's Scream, and it's through the infamous Horror Network. And it's me and Mud Michaud, and we basically like once a month talk to a female in the horror industry. So we talked to I'm so sorry, Jill. I'm gonna butcher your last name again. Jill Gervagian, who did The Stylist. And we recently talked to like Gigi Saul Guerrero, who did Bingo Hell and Culture Shock. And we have like a bunch. It's a very new podcast. I think we've only had 2 episodes been released. But yeah, I love podcasting. I think it's fun. And like, yeah, honestly, over the last like couple of years, podcasting has kind of replaced a lot of like music for me, where I don't know who any new bands are, but like I can tell you all the new podcasts that are out. Yeah,
I definitely, and probably at least in my case, it's kind of gone, I guess, the same way as social media and stuff. I find myself now constantly listening to somebody's show all the time. Like it has gotten to the point for me that if I'm doing anything, I constantly have an AirPod in one ear and something on it, like literally all the time. If I move rooms, I'm like, oh yeah, well, on my 20-second journey.
You need to have something going on.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't know what that is. I just feel like I can't switch off from... But podcasting has definitely replaced a lot of things for a lot of people.
Yeah, like I used to be super into music. I mean, not super into music, but like I liked music and I listened to it all the time because truly I cannot be alone with my thoughts.
Yeah, I feel that.
But podcasting has kind of surpassed that, where now if I'm driving, I listen to a podcast. If I'm like going for a run or like a hike, I'm like listening to podcasts because I like learning. And honestly, half the stuff I listen to is actors talking about being an actor. And I'm like here for it.
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, give me your insight. Like, tell me what your experiences are. Like, tell me your struggles so I know that I'm not alone in this.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it can be quite productive as well. And I think even what you're doing with the multiple shows that you're on, like I know you said right now, it's not really lucrative as regards financially, but I feel like it's a good way for maybe networking and just getting people's stories out there.
Truly during the pandemic, it's like a good excuse to like just hang out with friends and watch a movie together, or like doing interviews with Maud is amazing because like I am so inspired by her, and hearing like us being like co-interviewers while we talk to someone who is successful is like, it's great. And you learn a lot.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a solid chance to network, which I'm always all about.
What is the goal for you? I don't want to say in life, because I think that's like maybe a completely different question, but professionally, career-wise, what is the goal? Or, you know, in an ideal world, what would that look like?
Oh, to just continually being a full-time actor, and like hopefully that leads to being a full-time actor who doesn't have to worry about paying bills.
Yeah. Like
it would be nice to like not worry about money and doing what I love to do.
Do you feel like that's the big thing?
Yeah, that's the big thing. And like that's the dream. is just being a full-time actor. And now that I've got more into directing, like I would like to direct like a couple of really good features that maybe make it into like some really good film festivals.
It's funny, just on the topic of money, when you had mentioned that there, and I feel like that's something that it's a really bizarre concept when you think about it. If you could just remove that worry of like just general I guess resources, like things like rent, food, different things like that, how different everything would seem. But there's just like that level of like you said, that's obviously the underlying tone for nearly everything, is like, can I pay rent this month? Can I do this? Can I do that? You know, am I gonna? And have you ever been, I don't want to say turned off, but yeah, I guess that's probably the best way of putting it. Have you ever felt like, you know, fuck this, I can't do this anymore. I just need to, I guess I got to just go find a 9-to-5 and just, at least that way I'll have this like shitty safety net of, okay, I know I've got X amount of dollars and everything is like set in its path.
I feel like there's always that underlining thing where I'm like, okay, acting's not paying the bills right now and I should get a job. But then I'm like, but if I get a job, then I'm not focusing on my career, and my career truly should get all of my focus. Cause like I, even like not currently on set, like I bust my ass constantly. Like I'm constantly like networking, finding auditions, like talking with my agent, doing like courses to make sure that like I'm still like honing my craft and honing my career, because it's the only thing I want to do with my life. And if it means I don't get enough groceries this month, that's okay. If it means I might struggle for a couple of years scraping by, then it'll be worth it.
Yeah, I
is worth it.
Yeah, I definitely attest to that, and I was always and especially in Ireland, we kind of have that culture of again, like not everybody's religious, but there was always kind of, I guess, like a baseline of like I even remember being a kid and like, you know, we would go to church on Sundays with my grandparents, but it was like nobody was really like religious. It was just like, oh no, that's what you've got to do. You know, the men go out and work all week, and you know, the women take care of X, Y, and Z, and then on Sundays we go to church and we all pretend to be a happy family, and it's this and it's that, and you know, I kind of, I guess in a way fell into that, and I got a job for a huge company. I don't know why I'm dancing around a name. I've talked about it before. I worked for GameStop as a regional manager for quite some time, and it was just hell, is the best way I could describe it. And I just knew it wasn't for me. It wasn't something I wanted to do. And honestly, I guess the pandemic in a way was a really good thing for me, because it showed me how little any of that shit mattered, and I could finally walk away from it. And yeah, I don't have as much money as I had back then. I don't have the security of any sort of pension or anything like that anymore. And you know what? I really don't care, because I could be dead tomorrow. And it's one of those things, and from talking to people like yourself who are passionate about what they're passionate about, it's really refreshing to see that, oh, not everyone, you know, just fits into that mold and you just get on a conveyor belt. And again, if that's what you like and that makes you happy, that's fine. But just for me personally, I think if you're any way creative at all, or like something that's a little bit off the beaten path, you're probably just better off forgoing any of that bullshit and just do what you've got to do.
Yeah, and that's how I look at it. Like I know what makes me happy. Mm-hmm. And I think at the end of the day, that's all that matters. And like, this kind of shit is what makes me happy. Like writing and acting and directing and like doing fun podcasts and like being a part of this whole creative outlet. Like if I wasn't doing that and I just had to work a 9-to-5 job, like I would be miserable, and it'd be a different kind of miserable. Cause like, yeah, I'm sad that I don't have a lot of money and that some months I struggle to pay rent, but I'm doing what makes my soul happy. And like what gives me that dopamine that I need to like keep going. And like, if I had to give it up, I feel like I would just be giving up my like will to live.
Yeah. It may sound ridiculous to people who, are still in like that, I guess, matrix of, what do you mean you're going to be an actress, or what do you mean you're going to be? No, you need to get a job at the grocery store and like do what everyone else has done. And I can't remember. I'm going to butcher. I don't have the exact quote, but there's an interview with Bob Marley, of all people, and he talks about. I think the interviewer asks him, you know, are you a rich man? And he's like, well, what do you define as rich? He was like, do you have $1 million? And he was like, no. But he was like, but I'm very rich because I get to do what I want to do on my terms when I want to do it. And I'm not harming anybody. I'm not doing anything like that, but I'm happy. I'm rich. My soul is rich, and that's all I need. And it was something that made me think. It was like, we have become so obsessed with like success on the outside and then financial, like, hey, look, I got $1 million for this role that I hated, but everybody thinks I'm a millionaire now, so it's fine. Yeah.
It's because we are still living in a very capitalistic society where, you know, if you don't have money, you're not anything. And
essentially.
Honestly, judging by the way the government has handled the pandemic, I don't know how it is in Ireland, but how it is in Canada, like, they do not care about poor people.
Oh, yeah, no.
But at this point, like, if we're all fucked, and if we all die tomorrow because everyone gets COVID and it's a new strain and it kills us, do we want to die having just worked at a shit job we hated forever? Or do we want to die like knowing we gave our dreams our best shot?
Yeah.
That's like something. At the end of the day, that's what I want. Like, I want to give this my best shot and just hope it works out.
Yeah, and I think that's something that doesn't get talked about enough. Like I said, I get so many people reaching out to me with questions, and a lot of the questions, it's strange for something that, you know, focuses on movies and focuses on horror in general. A lot of the questions revolve around things like that, like, how do I guess, grow a pair of balls and try and do this thing I want to do, or how do I tell my parents, you know, fuck you, I want to try this, or how do I quit work and tell my boss this or that. And I don't think it gets talked about enough. I think we have it doesn't.
I feel like we kind of brushed under the rug. We're like, let the artists do their thing and they'll struggle in silence.
Yeah, it doesn't get brought up enough. Okay, so I have a couple of quick fire questions, I guess, before I let you go.
Fire away.
And we'll see. Favorite non-horror movie? Is there
Breakfast
something?
at Tiffany's.
Nice.
It's like, I watched it growing up. I watch it all the time. I'm obsessed with it. Like,
wow, that was quick.
It was.
That was quick.
And if like any of the movie versions of The Great Gatsby had it worked out, because I like the Leonardo DiCaprio one is like, the Robert Redford one's pretty good, and the one with Sam Worthington's pretty good. I also just like seeing Bruce Dern in like a sexy leading male role, because to me he's not that. Yeah, but like, I get it.
Yeah. I would say mine's like, probably Pulp Fiction.
Breakfast at Tiffany's is by far my favorite.
So non-horror. I had seen. Am I right in saying, are you a fan of romantic or rom-coms?
I am. I love rom-coms so much, and like, I'm always bitching that like I want to get cast in one so bad. Like rom-coms and like romantic comedies that's the same thing. I meant Hallmark movies, like the Christmas time ones. I'm like, cast me in that. I don't have to just be covered in blood all the time. Like, I would love to like, you know, have to move back home to my small town and open up a bakery and see my high school romance, and then we go back in love and everything works out. Like, I would love to do that. If they ever remake You've Got Mail, which I don't think they can because it's so very specifically dated, like, let me be Meg Ryan.
Yeah, I could see that, and I'm probably going to get lots of shit for this, but I'm a huge fan of those kinds of movies. Like,
I love them so much. Like,
even down to at one point there, a couple of years back, I don't know why, but every time I felt like shit, I would watch Made in Manhattan. I have no idea why.
Oh, so good.
I have no idea why.
Jennifer Lopez has like a new rom-com coming out, and like I think like a month ago, I tweeted about it because it's that new Marry Me movie. And now since then, that Twitter account has just tweeted at me a bunch. And I'm like, what?
I need to be
Put
in these
me in
movies.
Your shit then.
Yeah. Same as like things like Love Actually and...
Oh, that's like the #1 Christmas movie. Like, you got to watch that. For me, it's like Christmas time is Love Actually and Scrooged.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, that's the both worlds. You need a little bit of the horror with a little bit of the love.
There's another movie that, and I can't lie, literally I think nearly every time I've seen it, it's made me cry. It has shit, I'm gonna butcher this now. Is he a Scottish guy? English guy? He dies and he leaves messages for his fiance, wife, girlfriend.
Oh, for P.S. I Love You? With Gerard Butler? Oh my god, yes, it's so cute.
I don't know why, but like the first time I saw that and she like listens to the first message, I was like, Jesus Christ, this is like...
I love that movie, and Kathy Bates is so good in it, and Hilary Swank is so good in it. Like, I know that romantic comedies are basically just a formula. Like Hallmark movies are a formula, but I'm like, let me in. Yeah, I don't need to be all this horror stuff. I can just be romantic comedy stuff.
Is that something actually you had mentioned? About booking auditions and auditioning all the time and trying to hone your craft and your skills. Do you seek out particular auditions, or do you say, right, I'm going to look at like horror or thriller or rom-coms? Is there a specific...
If I'm doing, like, I have an agent who submits me for everything, and they're wonderful and amazing. It's like theater auditions, commercial auditions. Like, they know that I just want to be like constantly working. Yeah. It just weirdly happens that all the shit I do is horror because I love it. But yeah, when I'm like promoting myself, I definitely tend to sway more to horror movies just because everyone I know kind of does horror movie stuff. Yeah. I am so sorry that my thing keeps like popping up and like making noise on the screen. But I mean, if I had it my way, I would definitely want to do a lot more like rom-coms.
Yeah, I could see that. Is that something you're going to push for more? Or is that something like, can you go back to your agent and be like...
Oh, I have. And like, we'll see. Like, I hopefully get more. It's just like, so there's an indie world of horror, as everybody knows, and like tons of great stuff come from it. There is not really an indie world for romantic comedies.
Yeah, I would imagine it's just like,
you're either a blockbuster or kind of nothing. And like my dream goal, and I'm kind of in the process of like writing a script for it, is to do like a romantic comedy with like a horror edge so that I could do the best of both worlds. Yeah, that was something I was going to ask. He goes to the bakery and falls in love, but there's also a killer. Like, I would like to combine those two together.
Have you seen, you probably have, that show on Netflix, You?
Oh my God, yeah.
Like, I love things like that where it's like, it's not horror, but there's like this weird, like kind of romance, like,
there's a romance there, and then there's like this dark psychological stalker thing, and you're like, all right, I like kind of being this guy's brain.
And that's something I think that for a long time I had maybe gotten mixed up a little bit, that I was a huge fan of, like, I guess, thriller movies or whatever you want to call them. There's a remake of it, the Stepfather and... Panic Room and stuff like that. I wouldn't call them necessarily outright horror, but I was like, I like that style of movie as well.
It's like suspenseful and it feels like it actually, there's a potential that could happen.
Yeah, that's true.
Which I think you brought to me. I was like, oh, like, is this person obsessed with me? Should I be concerned about this? Like, that's something that's a realistic fear.
Yeah, and I feel like the way his character is portrayed as well, that internal dialogue is probably something we can all relate to in a way. Obviously not to like maybe murdering or stalking people or whatever, but you might be talking to somebody or whatever and you're having that internal
internal dialogue. Yeah. Like, this is amazing and I need to be around them all the time, and what are they doing? And I have to go and like stalk them. And like, I feel like we've all accidentally stalked somebody, like just across the board.
Yeah, without even, it doesn't seem like it is, but...
Yeah, especially with social media being like so readily available, like you might fall into the rabbit hole being like, ooh, I really like this person. Now I'm kind of going to see how much information I can find about them on the internet.
Yeah, I've definitely probably done that.
I feel like we've all definitely probably done that.
Yeah, I would say so. Is there any movies that stick out in your mind that you're really excited for in 2022? Obviously, Scream has got to be one, right?
I was going to say Scream is obviously like the number one. Following that is obviously Marry Me with Jennifer Lopez. Otherwise, I honestly don't even know what's coming out this year. Like, I feel like I'm still processing like 2021, and I just figured out what my top 10 list for that year was, that I don't even know what's happening this year.
Do you know your top 10 list for last year?
The number one thing I am most excited about in 2022 is we finally got season 2 of The Righteous Gemstones.
I love when I get those ones that are not like like I said before, the generic, like, oh, we get a new Marvel movie or whatever it is, and everyone just kind of says that. Do you know some of your top 10 from last year offhand?
I do. I have it on a note that's readily available. So 10 was House of Gucci, 9 was Nightmare Alley, 8 was The Stylist, 7 was Till Death, 6 was The Green Knight, 5 was Eyes of Tammy Faye, 4 was Malignant, 3 was Pig, 2 was Spencer, and number 1 was The Night House.
So I've heard a lot of things about Pig and The Night House, both of which I haven't seen. I imagine then you would recommend.
Oh my God, yeah, watch Pig. It's so good. Like, Nicolas Cage deserves an Oscar for the work he did in that movie.
There's somebody who's kind of made a pretty huge comeback in recent years.
Yeah,
and he's
not like taking any role because he needs the money now. I feel like he's being a bit more selective and taking like specific roles.
Yeah, and it's like obscure shit that you probably wouldn't connect him to, but then when you watch it, you're like, wow, he's better in this than he was in like those huge blockbuster movies that he was.
Oh my God, yeah. In Pig, he is truly so wonderful, and he's so talented, and just he's raw and emotional. And then you see him against like the movie he did, I want to say 2020, Willy's Wonderland, where he doesn't say a word throughout that entire movie, but you're just captivated by him, and you want to see him like kick the shit out of animatronic Chuck E. Cheese characters.
Yeah. So for you then, what's the next things we can expect from you that you can talk about or whatever? What should we expect coming soon?
Hopefully my feature film gets completed fairly soon, and we'll start playing film festivals all over the world. Fingers crossed.
What status is that? Yeah, what status is that at currently?
It's still in post-production, so it hasn't gone. It's been assembly cut, and now we're finessing it before we send it off to CGI and coloring and sound and everything. So there's still a couple months worth of work left, but hopefully it's done fairly soon. I know we're powering through it. And then, hopefully in the coming months, I should have a few more films I can't talk about, but have been discussed in private rooms that will hopefully be out soon.
Yeah.
And then, I'm hoping that I can scrape together some cash and make a couple of short films and kind of push some directing stuff a bit more.
Yeah.
But honestly, who fucking knows? Because COVID just shut down my last 2 productions. So we will see.
Yeah. How have you been, again, without getting like, super into it or super personal, whatever, how have you been dealing with that whole thing where, I guess you book, several jobs, you book a job or whatever, it's X amount. Okay, I'm going to be doing it for this amount of time. And then all of a sudden it just gets pulled away and it's like, okay, shit, I've lost that paycheck and now I'm not doing anything for the next 2 weeks. How do you pivot and like kind of, I guess, keep yourself on some form of schedule or try and not go insane?
Oh my God, no, I am like going out of my mind. I get really excited when like I book stuff or projects are on the go. And then if they get canceled for like industry reasons, like financing, or we lose a DOP or something like that one, I feel like I handle so much better where I'm like, well, that sucks, but that's the industry. But when shit gets shut down because of fucking COVID, I'm at the point where I'm like, I'm so fucking done with this pandemic. Like, there is no reason why this shouldn't have happened. So go out and get fucking vaccinated, because you're the one who's fucking this up for us.
Unfortunately,
I'm very mad about a lot of the pandemic stuff, because right. I was supposed to be Cheryl in Evil Dead the musical that's happening in our area, and lost that gig because we had to close down, event spaces, so we couldn't have a rehearsal hall, and like, it sucks because there was no other reason than COVID why that shouldn't have gone through.
And that seems like something that's like super fun. Is that something that's going to come back, or has that just disappeared now altogether?
It might come back later in the year, as long as like everyone's chill with the pandemic. But like, it's hard to determine things anymore because, we originally thought back at the beginning of 2020 that the lockdown was going to be 2 weeks, and that whole COVID thing was just going to like be one and done. And now we're coming into year 3 and being like,
yeah, things haven't. Yeah. It's like backwards.
Everything's kind of going backwards, but that's kind of why I decided, like, fuck it. I'm going to do my own shit. I'm going to make my own short films. I'll write my own stuff. And that way I can work with people who I trust, who I know are safe, who are vaccinated, who are cool at getting rapid tested, so that we can all work together. Like, that might be what this year is. And if I can get on bigger sets, which obviously is always the goal, that I'm hoping that happens. But if not, I did make the weird decision to turn my bedroom into an at-home studio, which is now what this is. And like, I have like a self-tape kit section, and like, I have all these lights set up, and now my living room is my bedroom. Because if we end up being back in a lockdown, maybe I'll just keep doing stuff online, and I'll get into Twitch or something. And
I feel like actually that's a really clever idea. I know somewhat personally, there's this pretty famous Irish magician / mentalist / hypnotist, X, Y, and Z, called Keith Barry. And, he makes a lot of money he had a residency in Las Vegas and all these things. And obviously live shows for somebody like that, and a TV show is kind of his bread and butter. Yeah. And he released a book recently, all kind of about, I guess he calls it brain hacks, which is, things for motivation, things for this, things for that. And he talks about, having to pivot from always being used to being on stage, and that was like his wheelhouse. And then to go from that to, you can't perform, all your work is gone. That TV show you were preparing to work on, that's gone. We can't shoot that. Now you've got to be at home. Figure it out. And, he talked about the struggles of having no form of income or business online, really, outside of networking. It's like, how do I do a show? And then having to try and transition over the last 2 years to doing Zoom shows and different things like that. So I definitely think you're onto something there. I had seen you posted about Twitch. Is that something we're going to see soon? Or what is potentially... I know you had mentioned obviously gear and equipment and stuff. What's holding you back currently?
Oh, gear and equipment. I want to get into Twitch because like, I used to be a really big gamer, and I kind of got out of it, and like, I sold off all my consoles, which I now regret. It was just one of those times where I needed money, and they would have brought in a couple $100, and I was like, yeah, okay, now I'm regretting it, where I'm like, fuck, I should have kept that, because it'd definitely be way easier to get back into gaming if I didn't sell all that stuff. But that is something that I want to start doing again, is getting into like Twitch streaming, where I don't care if anybody watches, but then I could like have an excuse to hang out in my cool new space and play all the like horror video games that I've been putting off for a couple of years.
I think that would really catch on.
I think it would too. And I think it'd be a lot of fun. So I'm hoping that I can like scrape together a couple of monitors, because I only at the time have a laptop, which isn't great to do gaming on. But that is like one of my goals for the year. And I do also want to start doing more like YouTube stuff, because truly any chance to perform and talk about like horror movies or anything in general is good. And I'd rather make opportunities for myself than wait around and hope that a production happens.
Yeah. I do definitely think that people would also benefit from, I don't know if you've given this any consideration, but a lot of little things we've touched on, and we could probably talk for hours on end, and I'm sure you have lots of different tips and tricks and advice and stories. I definitely think that people could benefit from maybe you potentially doing stuff like that in the future on YouTube. For other actors, people looking to get into directing, working in the industry, dealing with nerves, anxiety, X, Y, and Z. So right now then, as regards the Twitch thing, because I'm big on this live streaming thing, I'm big on this Twitch thing, the gaming thing. So you need monitors. Is it a gaming PC we're going for, or is it a console?
I think I'm going to get a console. Like, I think I'm still debating, like, part of me is like, get an Xbox, and the other part of me is like, I don't know, maybe PlayStation 4 is better, but I'm like, no, I should get an Xbox. But also, I'm going to get real on this podcast. So my original love is Nintendo.
I like that. That's kick-ass.
And I keep being like, well, maybe I should just go back to Nintendo. They're like, cool, I'm only ever going to play one game, and it's only ever going to be a Mario game. And I feel like, it's outside of the brand, but I love it. But I also can't justify getting another like Nintendo console and only playing one thing on it.
And I feel like a lot of people do that as well. Everyone has like one or two games on Nintendo.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't want to play all the other shit Nintendo has. I just want to play like Mario Party and Mario Kart and Super Mario Brothers. I'm sure maybe Super Smash Brothers every now and then. But I do want to get into playing more like, because I used to play like Resident Evil a bunch, and now there are so many horror video games that I like really want to dig into, like this is like stupid because it came out years ago, but like the Friday the 13th video game.
So
like
good.
I want to dig into that and do like some like, what was it? The Last of Us and Evil Within, and I'm like blanking.
Yeah, there's so many good. Until Dawn is another one with the multiple endings.
Maybe do a little like Left 4 Dead or Red Dead Redemption. Like,
there's Days Gone, which is quite good. The Blair Witch game is actually really good.
Is it?
Yeah.
I haven't heard like anyone talk about it, so I'm very much like, I want to play it.
So good. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to see here what games. Also,
I love all of your Michael Myers masks.
I actually have more on this side. I'm trying to figure out how to squeeze everything into the frame.
It's hard to do that because you like have to like light everything properly.
Everything.
Yeah, look at all those masks.
There's like so much shit in this room that like I just don't know how to fit everything. So that's something. Yeah, the reason I wanted to touch on the whole Twitch thing was anybody who's listening to this, you need to, down below will be all the links to all your stuff. Check out the Instagram and hit the link tree in the bio and donate so we can get you. Yeah, so we can get you on Twitch as soon as possible.
Yeah, so right now I'm like slowly buying like little pieces of it. Like, okay, this paycheck I can buy this, and the next paycheck I can buy this.
Yeah, that's something I really want to push.
I'm also going to change this couch cover so that it matches a backdrop better. But like,
you have multiple backdrops, right?
I do have multiple backdrops. I have like, so behind this is like my normal color stuff for self tapes, but like there's a whole other backdrop like behind here for different stuff. And
yeah, because I thought I had seen different, and I was like, wait a sec, what? Maybe it was just me.
I have a couple different ones. This one here I bought because I liked the backdrop of it because there's like arches and stuff. Cool. I like that. And I did that thing where I ordered without checking measurements, and it's like a 10 by 10, so it doesn't fit in this room. So it's like folded up aggressively at the bottom and on the sides.
I mean, you made it work.
Yeah, that's like my toxic trait is that I don't read instructions or measurements properly. Like whenever I'm cooking from like a box, I just like, I know what I'm doing, and then throw it out. Then like 10 minutes later, I have to like fish it out of the garbage can to be like, okay, I take that back. How long does this go in for? Yeah, and I do that a lot. And I throw everything away and then I can't find it again. So then I Google it, but I can't find the exact thing. So I just kind of go,
okay, so this TV or this computer is like similar-ish. So I'll just use those instructions, and then it ends up being like a whole thing.
A little bit off, and you're like, oh, I fucked this up. I did that recently with this new mailing service we have in, I want to say Canada, but mainly Ontario, where like it says aggressively on the website, like after you've paid for your shipping labels and you print your shipping labels, like take your package to a specific location. Don't just drop it in a mailbox. And it's all over the website. And I completely ignored it and just threw all my shit into a mailbox.
Nice.
And I'm pretty sure a lot of people just didn't get packages from me because I did not read the instructions.
That I can't say anything about that because I do that so many times.
I do it all the time.
Like I have so much equipment for recording audio, like thousands of dollars worth of stuff, and I still have not read the instructions. I still have not bothered to actually figure out what all the buttons do. And every now and again I'll Google, like I don't know if you can see here, like this is just one of the...
Ooh, fancy.
Yeah, but I've no, like bar like maybe 2 buttons, I actually have no idea what any of that stuff does. So yeah, like I was saying, I went completely off track there. All the links will be down below, so wherever anybody is listening to this podcast, all the links will be down below. Please check them out, and also consider donating, because we really want to see you on Twitch. I think that will be fun. I think it's a good way to pivot. I mean, it can't hurt you having a Twitch up and running, putting more stuff up on YouTube. I think it'll help.
Yeah, I think a big thing that I'm going to focus on this year is getting more stuff up on YouTube, like just talking about movies. If I get to be on a bunch of sets this year, COVID pending, like I'll film a bunch of like BTS stuff and talk to people on set and get a bunch of like interviews from just like crew members, like lighting guys and sound guys who like I feel never really get a chance to talk about stuff. Like it's always directors and producers and writers, where I'm like, you wouldn't have this if you didn't have a camera guy or an AD or whoever. So they should get some cred.
Yeah, that's true. And I feel like that, people who are into this stuff eat that shit up. Like, it's like, I feel like I can never, when I enjoy something, I can never get enough. I can't find enough commentaries, enough interviews, enough this, enough that. So I think that that's definitely something that's, there's a market for, and there's probably going to be a good following for.
Heck yes. And just after I filmed, my first short film being a director and this feature film being a director, I truly had no idea what I was doing behind the camera. So I really relied on my crew. Mm-hmm. And so much was me being like, okay, like I want to get this shot, but I want it to be like through this window. Can we do that? Is that something we can do? Can we light it properly? How many lights can we have before we blow a fuse? Like what is okay with this?
So I have 2 final questions, because if not, I'm going to go off on another one again, and we're going to be here for another 2 hours. Yes. First question is just when you had mentioned about behind the scenes and stuff. Have you documented any of your journey, like behind the scenes of like I don't want to say like vlogging, like your daily life, but I guess your experiences, through auditioning, being on set, things like that?
Not as much as I'd like to. And I kind of regret that now. Like I wish I had less on my plate for my feature film so that I could have just done a bit more behind the scenes stuff. Yeah. So that's what I'm really like going forward with projects, is getting a lot more behind the scenes, sit and kind of documenting, a set life experience. Cause I think it's fun. I like seeing that kind of stuff. Like I like seeing how people interact on set when the cameras aren't on, and a lot of crew stuff, because I feel like a lot of crew gets left behind and we only talk about like the lead roles. And it's like, I want to know what it's like being a sound person, because I don't know shit about sound. Like, at all. I only recently learned that like, and this is bad, I should have known, but like if you record in a in-camera mic, that it's going to fuck up your post-production. And that like apparently coloring and sound, like if you color something, the sound gets affected, which I had no idea, but like I truly knew nothing about post. So I definitely want to like learn more and kind of document a lot of behind the scenes stuff. So that's like the goal for the year and going forward, not just the year. I shouldn't say that.
I definitely think that that's something that a lot of people seek. Final question. And I know you're not only interested in horror, you're not only a lover of horror, But obviously, I guess the topic of a lot of this show is horror movies. Final question is, why horror, and what does it mean to you?
I just love it. I like being scared, and I like everything about it. I like getting messy. Like, I am not one of those girls who, like, if I'm on set, I'm like, no, I have to look good all the time. I'm like, no, cover me in blood and dirt and like rip my makeup off and make me look like shit. Like, it's truly just fun to be scared. And I've been on sets that aren't horror at all, and they're fun, but there's just something really magical about being a part of like the horror world and getting to do, like, I wouldn't be able to wear a harness with mouths on my tits for literally any other genre.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, there's no, you know, rom-com with that kind of vibe to it. But also just growing up with horror and seeing a lot of really strong female characters at a young age, like, was empowering. And now seeing even more strong women on screen who aren't just, you know, cannon fodder or there to be a love interest or there to just get naked. Like,
yeah.
Women are really, like, in the last, I'm gonna say, like, decade, have really proven that, like, not only can we be strong and be heroes and not just be a final girl, but like, we can make these movies and we can make these like heavy hitting stories and like get messy and get dirty and terrify people, because, like, honestly, it's kind of terrifying being a woman sometimes. And it's nice that, you know, we get to fight back.
Yeah. I definitely.
And then just like, yeah. And it's fun to be a killer and to be a victim, and not in like a, oh, she's a victim, like a murder victim, like a fun, like, cover me in blood and guts and prosthetics.
Yeah. I love how that question can elicit so many different answers from so many different people, because I do feel like that on the surface, I guess, a question like why horror or why movies or why whatever, you know, a lot of people, a lot of the average audience would just think, oh, I just like them, or I just like horror. And on the outside, it seems like it's just that, but I think everybody has their, whether it's a subconscious thing or something you're actually self-aware about, there's a lot of layers underneath the fact
there is. Yeah. And also, like, when you watch like police procedural TV shows, you're like, okay, this shit could happen, and that's scary in its own way, but like, no one is going to kill me in my dreams. No dude in a hockey mask is going to chase me through a forest. Like, I like the unrealisticness of a lot of horror.
Yeah, I feel like that's what makes it fun. Because you can kind of, I guess, live in that world for an hour or two and then kind of come out of it and you've overcome this thing, but you were never really in danger, and the chances of any of this actually happening aren't really there.
Yeah, like, my house isn't going to come alive and kill me. It's not a reasonable thing. But like home invasion movies, I'm like, that probably could happen. I mean, granted, I live in a high rise, but like, someone at any point could kick down my door and then I'm trapped. Like, but no one's gonna, you know, put on a William Shatner mask and walk through a forest and somehow catch up to me while I'm running. Like,
yeah, it's just not gonna happen. Like I said, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting, which I'm glad we finally got to do this.
I know, we've been talking about it for so long, so I'm happy that like our schedules like worked out and we were able to like sit down for like 2 hours.
Yeah, I know, that's my fault, and I appreciate you taking the time. It's one of those things, I go off on these tangents and then it ends up being like 4 hours later and I'm still talking.
No, I prefer like tangents versus like lame questions that only have like one answer and you're like, cool. Yeah. Or like, I'm not going to shit talk anyone, but I did a podcast where it was like 2 hours of them talking and I maybe said like 4 words and I was like, why was I here?
I think I know what you're talking about.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think I do. But yeah, like I said, it's been a pleasure. I'm really excited to see what you're going to do next. I'm excited to see this movie. This feature.
I am too. Like, I've only seen like an assembly cut, so I haven't seen any of the new like finessing that's gone into it. So I'm very much like excited, waiting for like word from my like new editors to see like what's going on with it. And I'm also very much like, I don't want to bother people. Like, I know it's my project and like I'm paying for it, but I'm like, I don't want to be bugging them every day, but every ounce of me wants to bug them every day.
Yeah, I can feel that. So where can people find you, follow you? Where's the best places that you would like to, I guess, direct people?
Oh yeah. So like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter are all at the Ali Chappell. Oh yeah, that's kind of like all my shit. If you want to listen to my podcast, we have the Hammer Pub podcast, which you can find through Scream Addicts, and the Let's Scream podcast, which is brand new, and you can find through the Infamous Horror Network on like, I think both of them are on like Apple and Spotify and SoundCloud and wherever else you get your podcasts. And then, yeah, you can find a bunch of my movies on, oh my God, where are they now? Full Moon Features for like It Knows You're Alone and Scream of the Blind Dead and Necropolis. And then also Tubi has all of them along with some other ones. Like I think, no, I don't think Space Vampire is on there yet. And Amazon Prime. You can find a bunch of them on. And if you also just go to like my link tree, there's a bunch of short films that I'm in that are like just like fun stuff we made with friends.
And just actually on the topic of that, for anyone who's listening outside of Canada and the US, anything you're looking for on Tubi, obviously we don't have that, but there is a new...
Oh, you don't have Tubi?
No, not yet, but they've done a...
Oh, I thought it was like everywhere because there's so much like foreign films on there.
Yeah, it's going to be. I think they're going to bring it out worldwide this year. It was something to do with licensing or something like that, but there is...
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
They'd done a deal with another website or another company called FilmZie, so it's FILMZIE. So for anyone who's listening outside of the States and Canada, if you're looking for any of those movies, they are all on that website for now until Tubi is made worldwide. Like I said, it's been a pleasure. All the links for everything that you just said will be down below, so wherever anyone's listening to this podcast, all the links will be in the description. And yeah, I hope we get to do this again. Maybe we'll reconnect towards the summer or something, maybe when you can talk about some more projects.
Ooh, yes, I would love to. I hate like having stuff on the go that I'm not allowed to talk about because it's like, it's just like you can't not be douchey and cryptic about it. We're like, well, I have this one project, but I can't talk about it. Yeah,
I know. I've dealt with that so much, and I try not to, as much as I want to ask and kind of prod, I know how things go and people don't want to jinx things, and then sometimes things fall apart because people are talking about them, and it's just not, But
also, I'm like just the worst at keeping secrets, so I'm just like, oh no, don't ask.
Just don't even ask. Yeah. But like I said, it's been a pleasure. I wish you all the best. I can't wait to see what's going to come next. And I guess stay safe, stay sane.
Yeah, you as well.
As you can.
Hopefully, this whole COVID lockdown thing is done sooner rather than later.
Yeah. Like I said, it's been a pleasure. The links are all down below. And we'll see everyone in next week's episode.
Mwah, thank you.
Evil wears many masks, but pure horror wears only one. Support First Class Horror on Patreon for as little as $1. Can't get enough of the horror? Carve yourself a deal from official merchandise, only on Teespring. Join us on all social media at First Class Horror. We have such sights to show you.